self-care is not selfish. It's actually the biggest part of showing love that you could offer to your family, your friends, and your community.
As women, we nurture and take care of the world. And so it's just so important to make your health, your self-care numero uno. So
get around people who are going where you want to go and who are where you want to be. And that's exactly what I did. I wanted to be in real estate, so I got around people who were doing things in real estate that I wanted to do.
So you might not be able to move things around or change what happened to you, but if you can change the way that you see it and how you're reacting to it, there's a way.
Just do what you have to do. There's no excuse. This morning, I knew that if I didn't get up at 4 in the morning and clear out my emails and do everything that I needed to do.
You don't want the government to dictate or a judge to dictate how your hard-earned sacrifice and wealth gets distributed to your family and your loved ones.
Our culture is embedded in American culture. There are people who come to America and engage in American culture, which is Black culture. So Juneteenth is really about Black culture, and it's about celebrating us, celebrating the different diasporas of Black people, even the dialects.
From the roots of tradition to the rise of reconnection, where history meets the heart of Africa. Celebrate freedom, culture, and homecoming. This isn't just a trip, it's a return. The motherland is calling. Will you answer?
During Kwanzaa was founded in 1966 by Dr. Maulana Karenga during the Black Freedom Movement. The name comes from the Swahili phrase Matunda ya Kwanzaa, means first fruit. It's a cultural holiday. It is not a religious one. This was created in an effort to give us our freedom back, our freedom in our mind, because that is the biggest thing and the hardest thing to really free. We were kings and queens in our countries when we were in Africa, and we were torn from our families, torn from our culture, torn from our land. So many things. We were bamboozled. Like, there's so many things in that space. Other tribes were selling other tribe members so that they can have a one-up, so that they can take over land. Like, it's always about property. All right. So next we're going to talk about some key symbols of Kwanzaa. So let's talk about the first one. We have the Kinara. So the Kinara, it holds 7 candles representing the 7 days of Kwanzaa. There's the Makika, which is the mat that you see in the second one. A mat symbolizes the foundation of our history and our culture. So you see the beautiful colors and the bringing together of all of the different colors, the red, black, and green, which are our African heritage colors, or our Pan-Africanistic colors. As part of our Juneteenth mission is that the Pan-African colors and the Juneteenth colors are different. What color they do share is the red, and that's the blood. That's what binds us all together. Next, we have the Unity Cup. The Unity Cup reminds us of togetherness, similar to like when you're doing communion. We would pass around a cup. Everyone would take a sip, pass it, take a sip, pass it. And so it was to create unity, to bring people together, saying that, we break bread, we commune together, that we are of one mind and body. The museo, or the fruits and vegetables. So usually there's a platter that has fruits and vegetables to represent the collective work and achievements of our community. Because guess what? Our ancestors tilled the land. They did from our roots. I am giving you the call to action for this year. Coming. Which Kwanzaa principle resonates most with you? Which one are you going to impart in your life for next year? And I hope you do take a principle and celebrate, focus on it, write it down, share it, post it on social media, commit to practicing one principle this Kwanzaa season, share Kwanzaa traditions to expand awareness and participation, and stay engaged with Juneteenth NYC for future cultural events and resources. And I think that is all questions and thoughts. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday and Happy New Year. It is the new year. I hope you all had an amazing celebration. So I am here on today, this Thursday. We have a very special guest. This year, we are going to be starting the year off with focusing, some dedication, some intentionality for the year. And we are starting it off with the principles of Kwanzaa. So this year we are going to be, each month is going to represent one of the principles, but this month we are going to be focusing on Umoja, which is unity.
Slow down a little bit and get into the world of making residual income from my businesses, where I'm not going out there and working so hard physically for my money. We have truly been tricked into slaving for ourselves, because going to work, the job didn't respect me and my life as a single mother. And to walk in a job that I was truly dedicated to and get written up every day because I was 5 minutes late. And I have a special needs child. I'm a special needs mom. I have a daughter that's 19 years old with Creedusha and also autism.
But that's such an inspirational story because, you know, you don't look like what you've been through. You have definitely, I would have not known all of that. I mean, we have had conversations, but just sharing all of what it is that you have done and what you continue to do. Your story, your why, like that is so important. And I always share with people, especially when I do coach them, I'm like, you have to share your why, because that is what is going to culture.
So that is what the opportunity, I think, is going to be for everybody who joins this trip. Just the excitement of giving back to where we come from. Again, emerging in the culture, we have definitely talked to a lot of people, and it has opened up our eyes to a lot of different situations that are currently that's going on there. The biggest thing is understanding the differences between how we do things in the U.S. and how they do things there. So a lot of cultural differences that we've seen. We also have seen disparities in water, something so simple, water rights, where, you know, we may take 3 or 4 showers per day. They may struggle to have water in their communities to even drink clean water. So it's a lot of things that we open our eyes to, a lot of things that we may be able to help with, just shedding light and getting everybody to see that there's differences, you know, amongst the nations, and there's help that's needed, and to embrace that. You know, and sometimes us being Americans, we can be a little bit selfish and take advantage of when we got food to eat. There are places that don't, children who don't. So just kind of having that awareness so everybody can see what we see as well. But people we have talked to have been absolutely wonderful. Us working together in collaboration, giving us more insight about what they have going on there and what we have going on here, and marrying those two things together. So I look forward to the whole experience, even put together this heritage trip. Okay, it has been just mind-blowing. So I can't wait to actually see it take place, and the time it's just running. We have until the end of this year to make it happen, and we are just working. We're just working behind the scenes trying to make it happen, you know.
So in 2007, at that time I was doing I had finished school and I was doing a bit of work in Accra and Kumasi. So Kumasi is where I come from. So I was moving in and out. And at one point, I met a friend who said, who exposed me, because at that time I was very ignorant about even the field of volunteering. And so it was a friend, who through a conversation told me that she traveled all the way from Germany to Ghana to volunteer. And I asked her, what volunteer program were you on? And then she was teaching in a school. I said, wow, that's interesting. So I began to read about it, and I felt, I can also volunteer my time, in my own country. Why am I not doing that? So it was through that can-do spirit that, okay, if somebody is traveling from another country to come to Ghana to come in and take such an initiative, I think I can be able to also do that. So that was really how it all started. And then I started to read, about the sector, and I told also a few friends about it. I said, oh yes, we'll work with you to be able to, do that. So I said, okay, let's move on. Okay, every weekend, let's go somewhere to do something, And I started, putting a few things together here and there. Every weekend we'll go to an orphanage, or we go to a school, or we'll go here, buy books here. We'll go by the road and be sharing flyers about a charity project or something. So this was really how it all started. And we needed to put a structure in place, because a lot of people were coming to us, okay, how do I get involved? So I decided to put a structure involved and be able to register it as a nonprofit. And then, the more I continue to, work on it, the more ideas I get on what it is that we can do. And that is how come the organization has become what it is today.
So we started this because, like I say, I keep saying, we believe that a lot of the global diaspora are not having enough support, because clearly everything they want to achieve or everything they want to know is coming from a place where they have not been before.
Yeah.
And then they don't know what it entails. They don't know what to expect. They don't know how to navigate their life when they come here in Ghana. So we position ourselves just to offer support. And like we said in our maiden meeting with you, we are a non-governmental organization. We don't really charge for most of the things we do, but for the service and fees that in running, our activities are done, and then we are done just to support the global diaspora. So we provide support just in case they come into the country, they are having difficulties and navigating their way, where to find this, who do I go to for this, who helps me in this, how am I sure that I will not be exploited. We position ourselves just to provide in-country assistance to the diaspora. So that's all it is, and that's what we are doing.
So I quickly want to tell you the story of watching the movie Hidden Figures. A lot of people watch the movie Hidden Figures about the brilliant sisters, mathematicians who helped NASA with their first space flight, right? And I walked out of that theater with a whole different experience. I walked out pissed off. I walked out enraged, outraged, upset, because what hit me was that these women were this brilliant. And first of all, it was called Hidden Figures because they hid them, right? And then second, it hit me, wow, usually when we're smart, we say it's because of our mom, our grandmom, our dad, our granddad. And in that moment, it hit me that with their brilliance that came from their mother, their grandmother, their father, their grandfather, they were enslaved. And so what hit me was, wow, we were that brilliant, and our brilliance was enslaved. So then I started asking questions. What did they do with that brilliance? Then I remember people talking about stolen inventions, and now I understood it because I didn't understand it back then. I just thought it was some radicals saying some stuff, right? But now I understood it because I understood we were never slaves. We were never slaves. So what happened was, now I start running through my head, oh my God, that's why my mentor, Babatunde, never used to use the word slave. He always used the word enslaved African, because we were always brilliant, but there was a system that made us think we were less than brilliant, that made us think we were slaves. But we were never slaves. And they had to put a system in place because we were naturally brilliant. They couldn't just let us be, right? Because we would never be slaves. So you couldn't read without risking your life. You couldn't own land without risking your life. Even going to church, your minister couldn't say what he needed to say,
On the reconstructive component. And that involves like what will be missing from the surgical resection, or once the breast surgeon is kind of done removing the breast, is that going to involve skin? Is that going to leave the nipple, or will they keep the nipple? And then just informing the patient at that point, even before, you know, the mastectomy or the surgery, like, here's what your anticipated recovery could be like. Here's what, you know, your options are for breast reconstruction. So that's kind of like the goal, you know, for the plastic surgeon in this whole process. But it is a process.
So we just finished I believe it's our 9th walk, but I have to double check. We just finished on October the 18th, our walk to stop domestic violence, where we walk around a 20-block radius or 25-block radius, just really informing the community and letting them know that what domestic violence is, and, you know, what it looks like, what it may feel like to some people, just the whole experience of it, and how to get help and how to get support, and know that help and support is out there in so many different ways. And at the end of the walk, we do a program, we have a presentation, and we also have like a huge support team. We have the mayor's office, we have Sanctuary for Family, just all these different agencies and nonprofits that really help with helping victims of domestic violence, helping survivors of abuse thrive, you know, just helping families. That's what we do in the vein of domestic violence. That's what we did. And now coming this Saturday, Sisters Building Sisters, along with my consulting company, which is RCM Global, will be doing a wraparound workshop with us, with a skit, one of our domestic violence skits that we put together. A whole team of us. Sometimes it's a team of survivor leaders from the mayor's office, or that I'm in collaboration with, or it's Sisters Building Sisters members, or it's just people that want to give back in that way.
What's in your hand, right? So, you know, when you get stuck between trying to figure out how to survive versus how to succeed, I know how that feels. I know what that's about. And it's hard to figure out how to transition from just survival mode to really being able to do more than just survive. And I think where it started for us in our business, at least on the real estate side, is really trying to understand what's in your hand. Adam Clayton Powell preached a powerful message, a historic message many years ago, asking the question, what's in your hand? About the children of Israel who were in Exodus coming out of Egypt. They were at the Red Sea. They had the army, Egypt's army behind them, the Pharaoh's behind them. They had the Red Sea in front of them. And they're trying to figure out, well, how are we going to get out of this situation? And God asked Moses one question: what's in your hand? What do you have? What's in your hand is going to get you through where you're trying to go. And I think what has happened is, in many cases, we get stuck in that survival mode because we're looking at what's in front of us, the barrier in front of us, issues behind us, surrounded by bills, surrounded by problems, surrounded by all sorts of stuff, not realizing that even though in the midst of all of these issues, there's something in our hand that we can use. It's a gift, it's a talent, it's a resource, it's a relationship that we haven't activated in order to get us out of the situation that we're in.
It's just been a joy for me to always experience going back to the roots, and being a part of Juneteenth. It celebrates Blackness, celebrates one's heritage, things of that nature. So going back to Africa, period, was a wonderful thing. My uncle actually lives there. He lives there in the U.S., so he's been going back and forth for some years now. And I've always just wanted to go. Like you said, put your feet on the ground and say, hey, I can feel my ancestors talking to me, through spirit. So just having that opportunity is just going to be a wonderful thing to say, I went to Africa. I did that. I had a chance to give back. I had a chance to share and collaborate and enjoy.
Encourage people to advocate for themselves. If you don't like what you're being told, how you're being treated, go someplace else. I got the actual diagnosis while I was on a flight through the MyChart app. It took 3 days for that healthcare facility to call me to discuss my diagnosis. And in the meantime, I had identified where I wanted to go. And that doctor, completely different, my surgeon, I actually first met with a surgeon. I didn't even meet with an oncologist first. And she called me and she said, have you anyone discuss your diagnosis with you? I said, no. She said, I'm going to spend an hour with you. So she literally had a chart, and she went from A to Z, what this looks like, explained my scans to me, explained everything. And one of the other really powerful things that she did, which goes to your family history, is that I've always been told that I was at high risk because my mother and my aunt passed away 30 days apart from breast cancer. She did genetic testing. I do not carry the gene. So I didn't inherit it, right? It came from another source. So if I had stuck with the original healthcare provider, I don't believe that they would have done genetic testing. They would have made a lot of assumptions. And so I went in fully expecting to have a double mastectomy because I thought it was inherited and I didn't want it to come back. That doctor made the difference. And we did life sparing, we did breast conserving surgery. I had a lumpectomy and I chose to have reconstructive surgery afterwards, but the diagnosis still hasn't hit me. That's one of the reasons I advocate. I choose not to sit in the diagnosis, but focus more on the actual journey itself.
Eastern medicine. Here it was originally called Oriental medicine, but as the children would say again, that's sus using that term. But back in my day, when I went, that's what the term it was. And so when we talk about Eastern medicine, we're usually referring to like traditional Chinese medicine, medicine that was originally practiced there. Also, like in the East, Japan, and I found overlap into some places, even if you will, to Africa. You know, people hear Chinese medicine, they don't think about Africa. But my first person who I learned acupuncture from had actually studied in Africa as well. So there's a lot of overlap. But when we talk about Eastern medicine, we're specifically talking about medicine that started thousands and thousands of years ago that was really based on a system of observing nature. And from observing nature and the patterns that we go through as women and that men go through using different herbs, there's actually if you think of Eastern medicine as a tree, then there are lots of different branches to that. So we have acupuncture, we have herbal medicine, massage. So it's a complete system, healing system that's been around for thousands of years, one of the oldest on the planet.
Restoring form and function after breast reconstruction. And so in plastic surgery, we really focus on how do things look good, but also like how do we improve quality of life and how do we continue to push boundaries to make our outcomes better. And that those outcomes could be, fewer complications or ways to make things more efficient and recovery to be quicker. So a big focus of my practice is looking at sensory restoration in breast surgery, whether that is, breast reconstruction, mastectomies, gender affirming top surgery. Also knowing where these nerves are in all of these settings can help us identify them in all breast surgeries. For example, in breast reductions, you kind of know where these nerves are, where they go. And so I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of that today. A mastectomy is basically removing the entire breast tissue. There are degrees of mastectomies. The mastectomies are performed by a breast oncologic surgeon. So that's your breast cancer surgeon. That's usually the first point of contact for the patient is, they have their primary care has done a workup. They have a lump, a bump of mass, nipple discharge, something that's concerning and not normal, rapid breast growth, for example, skin changes. They bring it to the attention of, their OBGYN or their primary care. Then typically, they get the workup in terms of imaging, mammograms, ultrasounds. They are referred to a breast cancer surgeon if they, have breast cancer or they need counseling, etc. And then typically at that point, the plastic surgeon is involved in the decision making of like, how can we work together as a team with a breast cancer surgeon, with a radiation oncologist if radiation is indicated, with someone, if they need chemotherapy, there would be like a medical oncologist. The plastic
yourself first. Now, I know our women have a hard time with that because we're always taking care of other people, other things, other situations. We're on these jobs, these committees, these organizations. And guess what? Our self-care goes down to the bottom of the list. It should be the first thing, not the last thing. And for a lot of us, we have it in the reverse, and it's not good. So before I dive into this, I did want to share some really important statistics. Black women are 5% less likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer than white women, but their mortality rate is 38% higher. Okay, women under 50, Black women are twice as likely to die from breast cancer compared to their white counterparts. And nationally, Black women are 40% more likely to die from breast cancer, highlighting some disparities in access to care, early detection, and treatment. But the self-care piece is a muscle that a lot of us women have to strengthen. Sometimes we get it right, we're in our flow, we're getting up, we're meditating, we're exercising, we're de-stressing, everything that we need to do to put ourselves to the top of the list. And guess what? Something happens with mom. Something happens with daughter, granddaughter, son, grandson. Something happens to throw us out of whack. And when that happens, all of our energy now goes to helping someone else and taking care of someone else. I've been there. I get it. I understand it. Kind of rolling off for a day or two. Okay, it happens. Something, an emergency comes up, we get thrown off. What becomes a problem is when we stay thrown off. It becomes a pattern for us. We don't even get back on the train and start taking care of ourselves. We are now taking care of other people. What starts out as a day or two becomes weeks, it becomes months, and we're at the bottom of the list. That's a problem. And that's a problem that we, as women especially, and men too, that we have to change. And self-care means we're number one at the top of the list. And once we take care of ourselves as best we can, then we can take care of other people. But we have to be number one on our list. And it's a hard thing for us to do, especially as women of color, as Black women. But we have to do that because we are more likely to die from breast cancer and be diagnosed than other cultures of women.
Seeing all these wonderful women that were so inspiring that survived breast cancer, and looking at these women and saying, wow, they've been through all of that. They don't look like what they've been through. And just a positive attitude, and just wanting to celebrate those women. So I came to create the pink carpet event, took it out of Singleton Enterprises, because I wanted to make sure it was a nice event for our warrior survivors. And it was hard to get help from the community, sponsorship and such. So I converted it and transformed it to a nonprofit event.
Without his grace and mercy, where would we be?
We wouldn't be here.
Right.
That's for sure.
And so the light, I believe, the light that shines through survivors, through thrivers, and through those that are in the midst is God's grace shining through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We can't do anything more with it or without it.
That's right.
And like, how do you take that information? How do you take that and then kind of go to the next stage of processing? Like, how was your processing from that?
I haven't processed it yet. I never fully sat with my diagnosis. I was still grieving the murder of my son. I still had life and a lot of things going on. So on the day, I had decisions to make. I just went into, I'm a problem solver, I'm a producer. That's what we do. We make things happen. I just literally went into problem solving mode. And the first thing that happened was as I was getting my biopsy, laying on the table doing an ultrasound guided biopsy, the person who conducted it said to me, it looks like you have precancer and cancer and you're going to need surgery, and our surgeon retired. So the first decision I had to make instantly was, I'm not getting healthcare here, right? So that's a part of survivorship, and that's part of diagnosis.
My money on is food. And that's because I invest in good quality food. I only get organic, I get whole foods, I go to the farmer's market. You know, I'm the only one that eats like this in my house. So I'm usually just making meals for one, so it's very low cost. Beyond that though, my self-image completely changed because of this. And that was definitely a challenge, because when you decide to work on yourself and now all these feelings come to surface and you don't even know how to handle it, it can seem and feel like you're going crazy.
So some of the common misconceptions about grant funding are they're hard to apply for, and it takes time. It takes time. It takes details. Dot your I's, cross your T's, and you have to actually pay attention to what the grantor is asking for. I was working with one grant, particularly here in Ohio, and it was easy to apply for, a lot of check boxes, but they actually asked for, if you just to upload like the front cover page of any of your government assistant, but people were up. You have to just be detailed and pick and choose the right answers. And a lot of people just go through and go, oh, they want this document. And it says, yes, they want that document, but you only have to upload the cover page of that document that shows your name, what assistance you're getting, receiving, and all that. And they just upload the whole document. And believe it or not, they threw that out. And it was like, well, you still had all that information, but they only asked for that one cover page. So it's hard to work with people that are not used to all the technicality with the grants, but that's where we can come in and do co-working sessions. I try to do co-working sessions with people that are applying for grants at least a month ahead of time, so then we can break down all those obstacles, and then we can help move that process a little bit quicker, and then maybe having that grant awarded to them.
As we all know too well, breast cancer is among the most common, most devastating cancers in our nation. One that far too many Americans have had to face. When hundreds of thousands of American women are diagnosed with breast cancer annually, just think about that number. And tens of thousands of American women lose their lives to this terrible disease each year. Inaction is simply intolerable. I believe, as I am certain you do, too, that our fight must continue until no one ever suffers from this horrible illness again. And that is exactly what I am prepared to do. In my own work in Congress, as chair of the Congressional Black Caucus and as co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on Black Women and Girls, I have dedicated years of my career to championing legislation intended to better the lives and care of those who are afflicted by breast cancer. There are just too many people who are close to us that we know all too well have struggled with this disease. Petty partisan politics have no place in our quest for a cure. Anyone who says otherwise couldn't care less about actually finding one. Through measures such as these, we, with the power to affect change, are turning towards solutions for the people. But our efforts cannot and will not end there. There's a need in this nation for affordable, accessible health care for anyone and everyone.
So self-care looks like, for me, really, truly, and honestly putting yourself first. Now, I know our women have a hard time with that because we're always taking care of other people, other things, other situations. We're on these jobs, these committees, these organizations. And guess what? Our self-care goes down to the bottom of the list. It should be the first thing, not the last thing. And for a lot of us, we have it in the reverse, and it's not good. So before I dive into this, I did want to share some really important statistics. Black women are 5%.
Now they got to figure it out and then move forward. So I always say the first one, foremost in planning is to know what you have. Secondly, what are you trying to achieve? Right, like you said, that I'm so glad that you had such good dynamics of stories. Like your grandmother had everything planned down to who was going to sing the songs. Right, people, you can go that extent. You don't necessarily have to go that extent, but it's always know that that's how far you can go. Right, what do you have? What do you have set up? Okay, what do you want to achieve? Right, where do you want to be? If something happens to you in year 35 and you're healthy, right? Who's going to be in charge of managing your money? Who's going to be in charge of managing your health, right? Also, plan for the long term. I like to say, figure out your goals. The goals are like the letter of the alphabet. They range from A through Z, right? And my job down with you to figure out what's your alphabetical order, because your goals are at the top of the list is very different from the goal at the end of the list, but eventually everything shifts. I like to say your XYZ one day will be your ABC. Now, what time frame is that? Who knows? Because things can happen, right? Something that you had planned all the way at 20 years from now can be the main focus. For instance, like my mom, right? She thought she wasn't gonna get hit by that drunk driver that day. She probably I'm gonna work the next 20 years. She was 41 at the time. I'm gonna work the next 20 years, 30 years, possibly retire. I've already been working at this one place for 15 years. I'm set, I'm good, I'm established. My pension is set, all these things, right? And then just like that, right, it can be taken away from you, unfortunately, right? And I like to say, you don't know what's down the road. We can't predict the future. I don't have a glass ball to see, but let's have a plan so we can know what areas you can protect from.
About everything about community. That is so many people, and I always say in our community, we have to do more collaboration over competition, because in order for us to really thrive, we have to collaborate. Because people at the top, they don't do that competition stuff. They are absolutely in a space of collaboration. They're like, hey, what resources, what do you have? Let me tell you what I have. Let's see how we can work together to create greatness. And we have to do a lot more of that as well.
Well, in our community, I got this thing where I say we've been brainwashed not to work together. And our community is the only community that will compete with each other versus working with each other. My mother used to tell me stories, God bless her soul, before she passed, that, Black people used to look out for one another. They will feed one another. Now she say they kill you if your shoes cleaner than theirs. So, but I just feel like in our community, we have a lot of spending power. And if we was a community to stick together, oh my God, just imagine how strong the Black community would be.
The biggest challenge today is the increase in food prices. You touched on that earlier in the segment where you mentioned tariff. It is slowly killing our restaurants. High prices. And the thing is, you have to either absorb those costs or you pass it on to the consumer. Well, even though we're all consumers, everyone is a consumer, most people don't understand that, or they feel ignorance. Well, why am I paying so much for, wings? Or why am I paying so much for whatever it is? But at the same time, we're all consumers, right? And we know that as we go into the supermarket, the cost of food is very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those is increasing in cost in prices. The second thing that's a big challenge in the industry is finding um reliable employees or finding good help. That is a
Come on now.
major cause. Employee shortage, it creates a huge problem in
Mm-hmm.
the restaurant industry. And this has happened since the advent of COVID-19.
Mm.
Finding and retaining employees or good quality employees.
Wow. I would say the biggest challenge I faced for a while was poverty mentality, because there was a point in time where I completely stopped working. I didn't have any source of income. And at the same time, I'm very low maintenance. The only
getting the part that teaches them how to be a better creative. So they're getting more of the artistic part and how to nurture and expand what they're doing creatively, but they're not always getting the here's what's happening behind the scenes. This is what you need to do in terms of understanding numbers. These are the types of people that you need to have on your team to be successful. They're not learning, understanding their finances or where to get funding from, or how to get sponsorship for their project that they're working on, or even just organizing their documentation, setting up their business structure, things like that. And so that's kind of where the vision for Biz Savvy Artists came into place, was providing them with that business infrastructure education to help stronger in those areas.
Oh, nice.
So anytime I'm like in a production, I always just talk to everybody and be like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. If you feel like anyway, let me know. And there's a lot of things that they do in like a lot of queer spaces. They have a disclaimer at the beginning. They're like, hey, this is a safe space. If you're feeling weird, touched, or like anybody doing anything to you, like, let us know. We'll like be okay. Like we'll like make sure that you're okay and like take the other person out and like deal with it as it comes, whatever discrepancies you have. But I'm the fact that I'm tall and I'm always everywhere. I have the ability to like really watch out for everybody, and I have certain people that I trust when I have events as point watchers to make sure nothing goes awry. But yeah, I kind of really bake off my energy because a lot of people do know me. They can feel it off of me. That like, one, I don't play around, so you're not gonna do nothing crazy in my space, and I kick people out in my spaces, very much so on that aspect. And two, everyone that I create and bring around kind of has like a similar energy where everyone just like wants to be. Just wants to coexist and create, and there's no bad sense, but there obviously are going to be those bad seeds. I try to fill the room as much love as I can so that doesn't come through, and I just be very aware of my situation because I don't drink, so I'm watching everything. I'm watching everybody, and people don't know that you don't drink because I'll be like, oh my god, like be like, oh you want a shot? I'm like, no girl, chill out, I'm watching you, like just making sure that you have a good team because obviously I can't see everything, so everybody that I know that's there, I'm like, hey, make everyone safe. Like I'm doing a Hamptons trip right now, and I told the girls like 7 times, I was like, if y'all feel any type of way about anything, let me know now. So I'm gonna shut it down. So just
Yeah.
having that fortified energy of like kind of like that, I kind of get that big papa energy to people. Like I know I'm like a young boy, but like still, I'm wanting people to know that I'm there for them, and I will put myself at the front lines for anybody that I love or that needs to be protected. So
Yeah.
So I like to say the first thing you need to know, what do you have, right? That's the first thing. A lot of times people don't know what they have, and meaning not saying that they don't have anything, but most cases they don't have anything, but they don't know exactly what they have. I've come in the common thing that I come into contact with, people are saying, "Oh, I have insurance, or I have all this stuff set up," right? And a lot of times they don't know, oh, it's just through work, or it's covered part of your income. It's not going to last your whole entire life. So people need to know exactly what they have, what assets do they have, but most importantly, what debts do they have? Because these are all the things that rear its ugly head when either we're sick or when you pass away, right? and for example, your grandfather had the houses and everything, right? Great assets to have, but how is it being transferred? Which is the most important part. So a lot of times people don't know what they have and what dangers are down the tracks, right? Everything may seem good when you're alive, everything may seem great, but like you said, that mortgage had to get paid, right? These things had to get done, and who's going to do it? He's not here.
So out of hand that she couldn't take it anymore because being a Diddy, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of signs there, a lot of different hints that maybe she should have abandoned ship early on. But like you said, look at the lifestyle. He's traveling, he got money, she's able to do all these things that like maybe she couldn't do on her own. So I'm pretty sure that somewhere on her journey with Diddy that she did just kind of cover things up. Oh, it's okay. Or, oh, and then whenever he maybe did start to abuse her, physically abuse her in the beginning, maybe she just, like a lot of people do. Oh, well, he didn't mean it. Or, oh, he was mad. Or, oh, I did this to make him hit me or whatever. So yeah, somewhere along the line, right, I would say that she probably did lose herself. Because it's like, why are you still there? Because like I said, I'm pretty sure Diddy, because especially, hearing some of the things, some of the acts that went on, I'm like, and you stayed for what reason? So yeah. At some point, because she was Diddy for years. So I just feel like somewhere, and with him being so powerful and who he is, a mogul that he is, of course, she's gonna succumb to what he wants. So yeah, she lost herself for sure.
The sign language, sometimes it's a song, and sometimes a song is best to use motions. You can't get to express that song in dance, but you could express it with the hand movements. You could be, if the audience is sitting quietly in the dark and they are watching the body language, the words of that song will resonate with them through the motions of the children, the hand movement, the dark. And so the next time they hear that song, the song will minister to them a different way, because then they'll see themselves in that song and they'll remember the action and not just the words and how the song made them feel. So I think the quiet and just looking and listening works best sometimes, instead of just doing that powerful dance. So there's a time where you got to do a dance. There's a time where you got to act it out. And there's a time where you're just going to sit still and listen. So it all depends on the words of the song that I'm using. I'll decide if it's going to be a dance, if it's going to be a sign language, or if it's going to be a blacklight production.
But I think where it starts for us is, what's in your hand, right? So, when you get stuck between trying to figure out how to survive versus how to succeed, I know how that feels. I know what that's about. And it's hard to figure out how to transition from just survival mode to really being able to do more than just survive. And I think where it has started for us in our business, at least on the real estate side, is really trying to understand what's in your hand. Adam Clayton Powell preached a powerful message, a historic message many, many years ago, asking the question, what's in your hand? About the children of Israel who were in Exodus coming out of Egypt. They were at the Red Sea. They had the army, Egypt's army behind them, Pharaoh's army behind them. They had the Red Sea in front of them. And they're trying to figure out, well, how are we going to get out of this situation? And God asked Moses one question: what's in your hand? What do you have? What's in your hand is going to get you through where you're trying to go. And I think what has happened is, in many cases, we get stuck in that survival mode because we're looking at what's in front of us, the barrier in front of us, issues behind us, surrounded by bills, surrounded by problems, surrounded by all sorts of stuff, not realizing that even though in the midst of all of these issues, there's something in our hand that we can use. It's a gift, it's a talent, it's a resource, it's a relationship that we haven't activated in order to get us out of the situation that we're in. And so what we've done on the real estate side is ask that question: what's in our hand? And, growing up in the Black community and Black church, my business partners and I, we figured out that there was something in our hand that we were overlooking. We were doing all these big deals around the country, buying commercial office buildings, buying a whole bunch of other sort of high profile development deals. And we realized, wait a minute, the church, the HBCUs, we have relationships with them. They own land. But yet at the same time, many of them have been struggling. And so we worked out a way and a strategy to partner with them to find a way to activate their land and use it as a not just revenue stream, but a wealth building opportunity for the institution, so we can make the next generation's road a lot easier so they can get out of survival and move into success. And so I think that's where it starts, just really understanding what do you have and what haven't you activated that's already in your hand.
A lot of the information that they get, particularly when you're going to events that are focused on creatives, is they're not getting the business side of it.
Money first, and then invest what's left over. With a rich mindset, they get their money, invest their money first, keyword, invest their money first, and then spend what's left over. Okay, that is key to your success.
Because you are not in the practice of using harmful chemicals. Anything that you use, there are chemicals in it, but there are some things that are not good for our hair, our scalp, and our body. We have to start looking at the ingredients and seeing if the product is a service or a disservice to our health. And we have to choose products that have a commitment and not just pretty packages and things that smell nice. And if I was to prophesize, they will be the last hairstyle on the planet. This is wearing locks, wearing your natural hair. Get it is a luxury.
Like, how do you define who you are at the core?
I think, well, I know mostly how I define who I am at the core is musically in that studio. I feel like the one, that's my therapy. If I'm not doing that, or everything else would just flop. Like, you know, it would just flop. Like, that's the foundation of everything. A lot of the people that met me in the beginning met me through my songs, right? Met me cheering for me at some of these open mics. And so not losing piece of what started me, right? Because the fashion could take you a whole nother place. The film could take you a whole nother place. And sometimes I do have to check myself, like, yo, don't forget why you started this and like why you're here, right? That's one of the reasons I left the bar, right? Because I stopped doing music. So that's a great question, right? Not letting the bar, not letting the fruits of your labor, which can be dope, define you, right? Like, music defines me. Me being able to share how I feel about what's going on with my sons, right? Me being able to share on record that, like, the things I can't say in court, right? About not seeing my son, right? Like, I get to say that creatively. And if I was on a label, I probably wouldn't be able to say that. And so you just made me write down taking creativity back, because when people came to the bar, they didn't even realize they was listening to my music. While being able to speak, create, is a negative, it creates negative potential implications for your health. Forget about trying to look nice on a video. It's good for your health.
Yes.
It's good. You can live longer.
Yes.
Yes. How about not wanting to die? Is that a good example? No. Is that good enough? Wanting to live.
That's why I take from what happened to me, taking a tragic moment, making it a personal healing process for me, realizing that these were just misguided young men without fathers and guidance. And that gave me a lot of power to forgive them and to move forward with, impacting the next generation to be more positive and steer away from the streets through knowledge, and wanting to read, make reading a very fun and entertaining experience. I learned that forgiveness is not for you. It's not for them. It's for you. It's not for the other person. It's for you, it's for you to forgive yourself for allowing that other person to hold you back in life. Because as long as you're bitter, as long as you're hateful, it's going to be very impossible for you to become successful or for you to hold on to any success, in my personal opinion, because attitude is going to affect everything. And with the bitter, hateful attitude, that could hardly attract anything. And if it can attract anything, it's going to be very hard to maintain over a long period of time. So I learned that forgiveness is for you, it's not for the other person, but also at the same time, forgiveness is not a license to invite abuse back into your life either.
Yeah, so to me, don't lose oneself is, being in entertainment, whoo, you would definitely see a lot, and I have definitely seen a lot. I just, people who either lost themselves or they was on the verge of losing themselves. There have been a lot of times where I could have lost myself, for the entertainment. We see it all the time, from acting to music to whatever. A lot of times in entertainment, we always see this hustle. Now, hustling can be, it can be positive, it can be something good, but it can also be something where people are just doing whatever to get the goal or whatever, to get whatever they want to get. So that's what I mean by don't lose yourself. A lot of times in business, we see people, they may compromise their beliefs, even though they may know something is wrong, but they'll just continue to do it. I will say that maybe somewhere in the beginning, in the middle, I will say that she did lose herself.
Product listings on Shopify, made a business Instagram page, and launched December 18th, 2020. And then fast forward to March of 2021, just 3 months later, the monthly revenue from the business in 3 months was more. 1 month of revenue was more than my year salary as a nurse practitioner. So for me, I'm a firm believer in starting where you are with what you have available. From the very beginning of starting the business, right, I knew. Well, I really wouldn't say I knew anything because I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I didn't know any like real legitimate entrepreneurs. But what nursing does afford you, and doesn't afford you this, you must have A1 amazing critical thinking skills to be a nurse. It's one of the hardest bachelor's degrees to get. The NCLEX board exam that you take is it tests nothing but critical thinking and prioritization and delegation. Everything you need to be a successful entrepreneur, right?
So I knew I would be a writer from a very young age. I think from the age of 13 years old. But when I got to a certain point in my life, I crashed. And what I mean by that is about 20 years ago, I felt like I just didn't want to wake up no more. I'm like, I can't do this world thing again. This is not for me. Don't wake me up. However, when I woke up the next day, it was like a light came on, and God was, the Spirit was ministering to me what I needed to do. And the first thing that I was led to do was write a play. I just follow, like you said, when God has a plan for you, He will guide you step by step. So I was led step by step what to do. That was the first thing. So I proceeded to finish writing this play, and I copyrighted it, and it's been a success. When you have God on your side and He's guiding you step by step, anything is possible. Because my plays emphasize family values, forgiveness, and freedom from self. Because a lot of times we hold things within that doesn't allow us to come out. And if we just sit still and learn how to love ourselves and have the Spirit guide us, we can get to where God wants us to be.
Stress. So the study of human behavior, understanding mindsets, and with health choices, and we think about how we make our health choices, it is deeply connected to our mindsets and how we're doing, right? And our emotions. So I kind of see my role as a healthcare leader to help healthcare professionals understand human behavior and the people that we serve in healthcare. It really has served me well. My training in counseling psychology has taught me a lot about how to lead with curiosity, how to lead with compassion, and how to consider context and the environment and psychosocial circumstances. And with community advocacy, which is, about assessing and adapting to different needs, understanding like what motivates people, how their circumstances and their social needs impact their choices, and just, their lived experiences and how that impacts them. So I just really feel like counseling psychology has given me the skills and the knowledge that I need to adapt and the ability to see the psychosocial impact to the choices that we make in health. Being a Black woman in leadership, I have to navigate both the visibility and the invisibility. And I've learned a lot along the way. In the past, as I was like still forming my professional identity, I believe that I was erroneously defining belonging with fitting in.
Okay, so 60% of bankruptcies in the United States are a direct result of critical illness and the medical expenses that follow. So unfortunately, my mom lost her battle to breast cancer March 5th, 2011. Now, even though that left an emotional pain and something that really broke me at that time, it also left the financial pain, right? But thank God, my mom had life insurance in place. Okay, she had $1 million policy that was in place. And if it wasn't for that policy, I'm letting you know right now, we came this close to losing all 5 properties to foreclosure. So there's trauma around finances, right? And whether we believe it or not, we all have trauma around this, relationship to money, right? So we don't go over some of the trauma that goes around finances. So we have 2 mindsets, okay? The first mindset is a poor mindset, and the second one is a rich mindset. Now, the difference between a poor mindset and a rich mindset is that they both get money. It's how they utilize money that's the difference. So a poor mindset, when they get their money, they spend on a toothbrush.
Let me ask you, is your teeth any less clean with that pea-sized amount of toothpaste that you put on your toothbrush? I'm going to almost guarantee you that it is not. The thought around that is that because we have more, we use more, right? We have a full tube of toothpaste, so I'm going to use more, and it's not going to brush my teeth any better than when I'm just using the pea size, which is actually the recommended amount that they are sharing that we use. So imagine if you were using the pea-sized amount toothpaste on your toothbrush from the very beginning.
Being able to touch people's lives and give them safe spaces and create like a community, because I think that a lot of us go out and reach out, think it's outside, but I feel like our communities, if we really harness them, can help us build out. So being there as a community and letting the community tell you what they need and how they need it is how we kind of build what is needed. I've never been into us telling people what to do. I'm all about peer culture, subculture specific work, meaning working with who and seeing what they want and helping them build out their ideas. And that's how you create success. So Africa Everything is a 501c3 and as well as an NGO in Ghana. It's an organization that gets creatives and small business owners together to work, together to empower education in West Africa and also to pair the diaspora. That's one of the reasons I'm part of Juneteenth, is because I feel like we're one. There's no, like, sometimes people try to divide us, but that's not us. We are one people. So I want to learn more about history from our, the African American history, and because I had to learn a lot of stuff coming here. Africa Everything is just like us getting together with our own resources, putting our resources together. We have an annual fundraiser where whatever money is raised from the annual fundraiser is what we use for our project for the year.
And I started writing my thoughts and dreams down. And the Diamond Writers, our queen pen, Natima Cherie, started her 5th anthology, and it was called Audacity. And it was, what do you have the audacity, or who do you have the audacity to be after your storm, or even in your storm? And from that, we've written a compilation, of different stories from different women all around the country, and their resiliency and tenacity to just boss up and be whoever they chose to be. We spend so much time doing, right? Most of our life, if we look back, we're busy doing. But there's something in that settling of being, and who you are choosing to be for yourself and for others in that season.
When life hits you hard, how you go through it, how you show up during those times means more sometimes than how you show up before you went through that moment and after that moment. I heard so many things from, you were an inspiration to me, or you are encouraging, and I'm like, I was encouraging you. I was like on the floor, like sprawled down, like on the floor. But just, how God uses you in so many ways, and especially through your situation. It's like, yeah, I need to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to get the glory. And I think that when we lean into him during those times, that he absolutely does get the glory, because who he has created us to be is shown in that time. Beginning, Juneteenth commemorates on June 19th, 1865. It is a time where the Union troops arrived to Galveston, Texas, to announce that all enslaved people were free. 1 in 4 African Americans will experience a mental health condition, yet only 1 in 3 will receive treatment. So talking about historical trauma, systemic racism, economic disparities that continue to burden our people. This is something that continues to live in our space, right? Historical trauma definitely comes up for me when it comes to my family heritage. My grandmother was adopted. And so there's a piece of her, especially her Southern upbringing, that I'm not aware of and that I don't know, right? So for me, it's very important to learn my history. So I do a lot of spending time with my ancestors and asking them questions, spending time with my elders and like, hey, so what was life like and what did you do and how did you, experience life and what were the choices that you had to make that were hard and difficult? So organizations like Juneteenth NYC are very important to support and to make sure that they're staying prevalent because they're going to be one of the only voices left.
Imagine how many other people all over the world that look like me are suffering in silence, right, with hair loss and really don't know where to turn. So from there, I said, we really need to share these products with people because if there's us, there's millions others of us, right, who are going through the same thing. And that's exactly what we did. So I started to share my before and afters and my sister's before and afters on my personal Instagram. Mm-hmm. Later, closer to Thanksgiving, I was like, okay, we need to make this a real business, right? I've already proven concept. So what we did was we, looked at everything we needed to formalize the business so that we do things the right way early on. And we got an LLC, EIN, then an LLC, created a Shopify website, made labels for the products, got those printed and applied to the bottles, did the product listings on Shopify, made a business Instagram page, and launched December 18th, 2020. And then fast forward to March of 2021, just 3 months later, the monthly revenue from the business in 3 months was 1 month of revenue was more than my year's salary as a nurse practitioner. So for me, I'm a firm believer in starting where you are with what you have available from the very beginning.
They show up to face it and actually navigate through those waters of adversity and pivot and navigate as they need to get on the other side of that. So they don't necessarily go looking for it, but they don't go running from it either. So there's some of the key tricks you'll find in a trailblazer. Maybe you'll find some of these in yourself. I'm sure they're going to resonate with you. They have resilience. They know how to bounce. They know how to bounce back even when they're bruised. They have tenacity. They set their mind on something and they keep moving until they get to the mark that they're trying to get to. They have courage. It takes courage to navigate this life, doesn't it? It takes courage to navigate life, no matter what spectrum of life that you're on right now. It takes vision. They're the visionaries. They see beyond what is today. They see beyond what is that's what's around them. All right. So they see beyond that, and then they usually are leading others to that vision and leading others to apply what it is that they know to accomplish the vision.
What our agency is striving to do is to be impartial, because there could be a conflict of interest within like that officer investigating, their partner, right? It's like you don't want to kind of, title tell, right? We wanted to do it in plainest terms, but this is a larger issue. We want to make sure that there is a body that is impartial, that stresses neutrality, and that is going to make sure that civilians are heard. So that's what we do. So we investigate force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. This law has been in effect since 2018, and it's basically like checks and balances when it comes to like stops, questions, and frisks.
Time in the market versus timing the market. So let's look at this kind of slowly. So you'll see here's an initial investment of $10,000 going into an account back in 2008. I think that's 2008. I have to squint at it. Yes, 2008. So you see here, investor A stays in the market. Investor B decides to jump out of the market during the 2009 or when we experienced a drop. So they decide to get out of the market. Investor C never gets in the market at all. So what happens is investor B is a timer. Investor A just keeps their money in the market. Investor C never touches the market. So when you look at the results over here, you miss the market rallies because investor B is trying to time the market, trying to figure out when is a good time, the best time. And a lot of times that's really just a greed play. You're trying to find out how much more can I buy or when should I get out? We don't know when the top is going, we don't know when the bottom is going to fall out. We don't know when it's going to reach the top. So why not just stay in there and take advantage of dollar cost averaging, which I will get into that in just a moment. But look at the person here who never touched the market. This is an example of hiding your gift under a bushel, keeping your money in your mattress. You barely got anything. As a matter of fact, remember you invested $10,000. How did you lose money? You lost money through inflation. So as inflation goes, so the inverse is your value of your money, right? So if you had $10,000 in 2007, it's not worth $10,000 in 2025 because of inflation. The purchasing power, that's what we're looking at, the purchasing power. What can $10,000 get me now? So really, when it comes to the market, what I find is that a lot of people just don't understand the market. They're afraid of the market. They see it as gambling. And sometimes they believe, hey, it works too slow. I get people telling me that's just too slow. I don't want to wait 20, 30 years. I want to turn something in the next 3 days, in the next 30 days. That's where your risk factor increases. When you don't have the time, a short amount of time, your risk factor increases tremendously.
And what I really want to work with you on today is kind of talking about how we can pay ourselves first and still have money left over at the end to be able to pay for all of the stuff that we need to pay for. And you get a brand new toothpaste, right? And I know this is not about money. But I just want to, most people brush their teeth every day and most people get toothpaste that they're utilizing, right? So when you buy a brand new tube of toothpaste, I want to hear how much toothpaste you put on your toothbrush, right? Do you do that whole full line of toothpaste and run the whole length of your toothbrush? Then I read this book and it totally changed my mind about that because he said, when we get to the end of the toothpaste, right, and we squeezing out and we get in these little pea-sized amounts of tears in my eyes because I'm like, wow, look, I too had a humble beginning where my parents were not very well-to-do, and going to college did afford me to come back and be able to be making more money than them. I know this is a little bit off topic, but I think it warrants even sharing. Tell me, what was your experience like, and how, if any, did you encourage your family members from that point when you did find out that this was a realization of yours?
I think, part of it is I think there was an expectation around education and what education could do for you. And I think, again, I don't want to speak for all immigrants, but I think that there is that, that's kind of why they come to this country, right? And to give us what they, more than they had. And so education was always a part of what was expected of me. So I just wanted to.
Can you share a time when you personally struggled with the imposter syndrome, and what is your version? What is your idea of what the imposter syndrome is?
It's self-doubt when self-doubt isn't appropriate. And it was all technologists, right? So it was people from, I think, Google, from Red Hat, right? It was hardware, it was, operating systems. Then mine said BET networks. And I was like, oh, that's adorable. But that was very much a case of like, holy cow, look at all these other real technologists. And so that was definitely a moment of imposter syndrome. And I'm not 100% sure I overcame imposter syndrome to do it, but I was asked, and therefore I was going to serve, right? So my hand was forced a little bit not into serving, but into kind of like getting over myself and figuring out that like, no, I could probably do the job. This is what I often say to people, which is, it is your uniqueness, your otherness that is actually your superpower. So part of the reason why I was so successful was because I wasn't just a blunt instrument technologist. It was because I could talk to people. It was because I could be a leader and a manager, and I knew like how to almost be a translator for different audiences, and right. And so that actually was the thing that made me really successful at it, which again is not the thing that I thought was the strength that they were looking for. So you now know my background, right? Like all the things that I've done. I mean, even if you don't remember Shockwave, but Hulu and the White House. So my resume is pretty unimpeachable. And I still find myself doubting quite often. So I want folks to understand that it doesn't necessarily go away, that you would think that like, shoot, with my background, right? That like, no, I got it. I still, to your point of like, somebody could say that I'm a DEI hire. So, you know, so it's all, it still exists for me.
I am just like any other ambitious Black woman. Often I find myself challenging, in a challenging position. It's challenging when it comes to self-care. Despite my drive and my determination, prioritizing my well-being can become a secondary concern. Several factors contribute to that, to this struggle, ranging from societal expectations to personal pressures. When I talk about social expectations, ambitious Black women, a lot of times we frequently face societal pressures to excel both professionally and personally. There are often a lot of expectations for Black women to maintain a perfect balance between their career achievements, their personal life, and that includes your family responsibilities. This balancing act can lead to self-care being deprioritized. For me, one thing as a Black woman I've learned, I didn't appreciate this earlier, was a therapist. Speaking to a therapist, somebody who weekly reminds you, Dr. Shell, what did you do for yourself this week?
Trailblazers are usually breaking barriers. They are not turned away from breaking barriers. They're overcoming adversity. And what do kids say now? It's like you're 10 toes down, all right? You're standing on business, overcoming adversity. It's like, it's not necessarily they go looking for adversity.
Mom said, if you know the alphabet, you can create a contract. So you just follow the letters and type. So from that perspective, I've always had entrepreneurship in my heart. I didn't necessarily want to go into demolition contracting, but I always had entrepreneurship in my heart.
He had to work to make it happen, and he did. And so I was like, this is what being an entrepreneur affords yourself. Now on the back end, later after he passed, I found out some of the other things and how he had to maneuver to maintain that life. I created my own lane. So just think and know that your children, people who you're maybe thinking to create this business for and pass it down to, that they're creating their own lane as well, and that they're not going to follow in that same space as you.
Our journey, the journey of the Black family in America, I just want everybody to know it's rich, it's complex, and our history is deeply intertwined in the history, not just in the United States, but the history around the world. Our history, our past, in the 1800s, the Black family faced extreme adversities during slavery and segregation. To the present, today, many Black families still experience systematic challenges despite progress in the civil rights. So when we talk about the Black family, we always want to talk about our culture, our heritage, roots that shape the family structure today. The history of the Black family in America is a testament to our resilience, our strength, and unity. It is a story woven with threads of adversity and triumphs, detailing how African American families have navigated profound challenges while nurturing our community, culture, and identity. During this period, families were often separated due to the brutal realities of slavery, where individuals were bought and sold without regard to family bonds. Despite these harsh conditions, enslaved Africans forged family connections and kinship networks that provided emotional support and a sense of belonging. So we were always close-knit. We were always trying to get back what we had from Africa. The Reconstruction era brought opportunities for some African American families to acquire land, for us to gain education, to participate in civic life, all through these gains.
Because I know that good people don't deserve to be treated like beasts. And because of faith, Faith. Faith in goodness. Faith in the Lord. Faith in people, both white and black, and everything in between. It is the faith that keeps me moving. The faith I have in you and the faith I have in me. One of the things that helped us moving forward is the music. The music was the greatest motivation. Without it, there were times we felt like we could, why even bother? But once we had a song in our heart, that song, it pushed us forward. It fueled us. It gave us determination. And it also fed us messages to let us know where to go, when to go, what time to go, who to look for, what to bring, who to trust. It's how we communicated with each other on this thing they call the Underground Railroad. It was groups of people, good people, God-fearing people, loving people that knew what was going on in the land at the time was wrong. And it wasn't always black. We couldn't have done it if it wasn't other people. I learned a long time ago that you cannot depend on someone to be there for you based on their color. Color don't matter. It's the eyes. You got to look in the eyes. And if you see God in the eyes, you know you got yourself a friend.
That tries to reduce youth. So, for example, something that immediate comes to mind when you think about our community, right? We keep trying to treat symptoms instead of treating the root causes. And one of the tools in Six Sigma is a fishbone diagram. That's the inauguration of Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, his first inauguration. And a little fact, 95% of Black people voted for him. When we unify for a common purpose, we can transform our collective reality. Black Wall Street was destroyed in 1921, the Tulsa race riots, as it's called. But there were over 200 businesses. And if you think about what happened after Reconstruction, that Black people had to do business with each other and create their own realities because everything was segregated. And so for me, one of the greatest examples, at least from a socioeconomic perspective, is what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. These are some of the accomplishments, and it's a very busy slide. And I know it's busy, and hopefully these slides will get shared. But if you look at the establishment of the NAACP, the Montgomery bus boycott, the civil rights movement, the March on Washington in 1963, and then in 1995, 2 million Black men visited Washington, D.C. in the Million Man March. So these are the things that we have accomplished over time when we depended on each other, held fast to cultural pride, and realized that without each other, we all fail. The Negro League, 1920. Black ball players couldn't play in the play white baseball. And so what happened? The brothers created a league of their own where they could play, generate income, provide outings for families. These players traveled and provided relaxation for folks, and they stayed and ate in Black businesses. Shared values, core principles that bind our community together. And here are some examples: family and community, resilience, education, economic and political empowerment. They provide a foundation for collective action, and then they strengthen our cultural pride. Do you remember that on the day of the Million Man March, it locked down all of the news networks? C-SPAN carried it entirely. And so the thing that we have to do as a people first is identify what's considered common purpose. Barriers to unity. This is the part that we really need to focus on. We don't trust each other. Hell, we don't have Black businesses in Black communities because we won't spend our money with Black people. When I just provided all of the evidence that shows what can happen when we do. Competing priorities. On one of the slides, there's a quote that says, unity is not sameness, it is a oneness of purpose. When we define what that purpose is, no matter, here you go, great example. 5 and 3 is 8, right? 7 and 1 is also 8, right? 4 and 4 is 8, right? 8 and 0 is 8. They all get to 8, but you have different paths to get you there.
Well, first I want to talk about, as we have a lot of people who join us who are entrepreneurs or up and coming entrepreneurs. And I know you have been an entrepreneur for the last 20 years. So if you can share a little bit about your journey and how you went into being, or how you got inspired to start the Eclectic Group.
Well, first, what kind of prompted me to be an entrepreneur in general was my mother. My mother was an entrepreneur growing up. She was a demolition contractor, one of the only female demolition contractors in Detroit, Michigan. At a young age, I was a person that knew how to do spreadsheets.
And what are the processes that need to be put in place in order to make that happen? Then we also looked at who he wanted to serve. So we need to reposition the business. We need to reevaluate who we're targeting. And so maybe your target market isn't the individual that just kind of sort of has an idea but isn't really established. And maybe we need to look at maybe mid-sized businesses that have a bit more of a budget and can afford to invest a couple $1,000s on a project. And you're doing maybe more than a logo. Maybe you're doing the logo and you're doing a website and like rebranding their business. We established the prices. We set prices that made sure it was going to cover our costs to provide the services. We also, instead of doing work up front, established the policy of requiring a deposit before we began doing work. So that would minimize the impact of clients deciding to abandon a project. Another policy that we implemented was instead of discounting services, we broke out the payments. So if he decided to do a project that was $5,000, instead of offering a discount on those $5,000, we are like, okay, we can break it out and maybe you do $1,000 a month.
I think right now, as far as like 2025 goes, unity in practice would be something tangible, something that we can kind of see. I think it would be an initiative that would be like a daily initiative. When I think about unity right now, I think about things happening in a timely manner. You know, sometimes a lot of the things that hold us back comes from literally just not unifying. We have the tools, we're capable, we're doing the work, we have the businesses set up, but something is just not connecting in which the speed we want it to connect, you know. And so I think right now in 2025, that's what unity is looking like written in this stuff.
Because we live in this microwave society right now. So everyone is looking for immediacy, like what can happen right now, right now. Do a lot of things in the four aforementioned, like something happens, we respond to it, but not a lot of the planning. And I think that's where the whole idea of this Project 2025 idea even came into place for us, right? But for us, it's like, okay, what is our plan? Like, what are we putting together? How are we for planning? We're still trying to, and I think a lot of it too, still definitely falls in line with remnants of slavery, right? Because we're still in that space of I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, I don't know, as far as survival, I could plan for 10 years out, but am I going to make it to that 10 years? That is also a part, and I'm just processing this now as we're talking about it, but I think that is also a part of like what, to your point, like what is stopping us from reaching that goal and kind of preparing.
So sometimes it's really not on me, it's in me, right? And I just feel it. And so I get to that point where, like, it's gonna get to a point of that, right? Because that's the whole contingent that we've always had. And even when we're thinking about building something, again, back to my nonprofit such as Black Wall Street, even we build something, we need to sustain something, and then we also need to be able to protect it.
Yeah.
Having those conversations with the community about what it looks like and how that might go about, standing up, protecting yourself. I think those conversations should be important now as we begin to see how we're going to sustain ourselves economically, how we're going to begin to build wealth now and protect, how we're buying homes, and those things need to be protected. Older generations, they kind of almost always express their fear of saying, oh, we didn't want to tell you guys this or that. And then now I have found that when we are having these conversations, there's something stemming up inside of me now.
The session today, we're going to be defining and cultivating shared values within communities. We're going to be talking about practical steps for overcoming divisions and fostering collaboration. And we're going to be aligning efforts towards common goals to drive mutual progress and success. So what is a Sigma Green Belt? What exactly is that?
Okay, so Six Sigma is a process improvement method.
People to you, so many people who are probably like you, who are like, yeah, my child has something that is rare and nobody is talking about, and there's no resources, and I have to do this and I have to do that, and yeah, the jobs don't understand me, and you were like, God made a way. So the topic today is future-proof your legacy. We're going to talk about the importance of estate planning and securing generational wealth, trust, how to build your trust and avoid conflict when family members are faced with difficult decisions, which I've definitely been in when we've had a loss, and practical steps to protect your legacy and preserve family unity through strategic planning.
When you're talking about wills and trusts, they think, oh, you're trying to put me in the grave now. And so that's not true, right? It's really about just planning, right? And being prepared.
Yeah.
Right? For life, I always say being prepared for life and being prepared for loss. Like I said, because we're not talking about dying, we're talking about planning. So, but there are things that happen when people pass. There are things that happen when people become incapacitated and they cannot take care of themselves. That can cause a strain. We said unity, which is being united, right? Being joined together as a whole. But oftentimes when there's a sickness, an illness, or a death, that whole family unit can be fractured because people have not taken the opportunity to plan or to talk to one another. And this is about African Americans that don't have wills or estate. 77%, huge number, but 77% of people, and probably because they don't know, or because they don't have time, they procrastinated, or because they don't think it's important. Part of a estate plan includes, and I call them the big five, having a power of attorney, a durable one, a medical power of attorney, a living will, a last will and testament, and a revocable trust. So durable power of attorney allows you to assign your someone the power to take care of all of your business in case you become incapacitated and you can't handle your business on your own. Medical power of attorney is one that basically, if you become so ill that you need someone to speak to doctors and make medical decisions for you. And then a living will is sort of if you're in the hospital and things aren't going too well. And so you are here and you're in the right place if you you know you need one, but you're not sure, you don't know where to start. Like, what do I do? Because I said it's estate plan. It's like a big thing, right? Or you're curious, right? But you don't know, does it take a long time? What am I supposed to do, right? Or you wonder if you could just use Susie Orman and do it online.
Today, we're going to be talking about go-getter strategies, achieving business success. So I am going to welcome my friend and our speaker for today, Kim Fennell.
So today I wanted to talk about goal-getter strategies. It is the top of the year, top of 2025, and we all go into a new year with all of these things and ideas and new projects that we want to execute. And so the very first thing that we did is we clarified their goals. We sat down and we talked about what exactly they wanted to accomplish. We made sure that those goals were SMART goals. And we made sure that they were specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-bound. And so if you know me business-wise, you'll know one of my pet peeves is when people tell me their goals are to get to the next level. It's not specific. You're not telling me a specific thing that you want to accomplish. You're not telling me when you want to accomplish it. And so it's hard to determine whether you or not you achieved getting to the next level unless you define what that means. And so that's one of the things that we want to do is make sure that you are setting a goal where you can go back and you can look at what you've accomplished and be able to determine if you achieve that goal or not. Then we began creating a process. We sat down and we talked about what we wanted the client experience to be when they worked with his business. We talked about what the structure of that process would look like. You need to give some thought to what you want the customer experience to be like.
From the roots of tradition to the rise of reconnection, where history meets the heart of Africa. Celebrate freedom, culture, and homecoming. This isn't just a trip, it's a return. The motherland is calling. Will you answer?